Hi, everyone. My name is Kaylee Jacoby, and I'm joined today by our co-founder and COO, Tim Buckner, to discuss the growing challenges of data management within the private market sector. Tim, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Kaylee. Happy to be here with you.
So, Tim, we hear a lot of buzz about data and how growing market and investment complexities are making it more challenging for managers to execute on a data strategy. When you're talking to executives, what is the most common question you're asked regarding where to start and how to execute their data strategy?
Yeah, great question. I've often found the scale of this question very much depends on the size and scale of the organization. For those embedded within a single investment strategy like infrastructure, private equity, real assets, I often find I get questions that I get comments that lead to questions like we've built our business on the backbone of spreadsheets and letting our businesses and their functions choose technology to best suit their needs. And now are finding that they've hit a critical inflection point where all working in a single data source is incredibly important. And so this often leads to a burning question that CIOs or COOs get to, which is, how should I think about getting to a single data source? Is it a myth or a possibility to even get to one source of truth? And they often really, really struggle with that. And sometimes going to consultants or sometimes going internal and saying, help me think about this. And they struggle with where to start. For much larger managers, I find the question is just much bigger, which is it follows the same underlying source in question, which is, can I get to a single source? But it's a much broader question, which is, they may have a public and a private markets business, or within their private market business, it may be much bigger, where they're realizing the importance of having all their businesses kind of operate from debt and equity across infrastructure and real assets, and maybe even hedge to get in one place, because their investor relations team or their fundraising team still needs that source of truth. So combined, I would say that I'm finding companies now really focused on getting the most from their data and on prioritizing their journeys to sort out what their data strategies are, to really get to the place where they feel confident that they can get to all the necessary data they need, from how it's ingested, how it's managed, how it's measured, reported on, and even stress tested.
Interesting. So when you're having those questions about their data strategy, where to start, is it possible? What advice are you offering these companies who are just beginning to approach this?
Great question. I would say I have four key pillars that I try to help every organization think about in big categories. First is data management. How are they managing their data? How are they ingesting that data? And to really think about that critically. Second is how their workflows are associated with that data. So how are they today normalizing that data? How are they making decisions around that data? How are they underwriting to that data? And then how are they ultimately managing and reporting on that data? So workflow is critical in that. And if you get those two right, the other core pillars for sure is analysis and analytics. How you analyze that data at real time, at scale, because in this market environment and in market environments to come, the analysis associated with that data is going to be critical, as close to real time as possible. And then how you report on that data is the fourth one. So reporting on that data to us is also critical. So having those four pillars all in a single solution, we think is critical for this modern investment manager. And we think that like being able to do that at scale is incredibly important.
Thanks, Tim. So it sounds like to me, unless you have those four pillars and everything in line in one single source of truth, then essentially your business is taking on risk.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Well, that's great advice, Tim. So tell me, when should investors be focusing on this?
So our view is that organizations need to use this time in history to really industrialize themselves and to take the excuse away that oftentimes is used to say that I'm too busy, reacting to investor inquiries today, or I'm too busy to doing scenarios in the way I used to do it, and really try to peel off some time to look at how this black swan event can really has really created an opportunity. And so what we've said to organizations is that we don't think that there's been a better time in our history to drive innovation and investment. And by taking action now on data strategies and thinking more holistically across the pillars we suggested, and being and also being critically outcome focused, we really think there's great potential to create differentiated competitive advantage now. And so my advice, number one advice more than anything else, is get started.
I guess there's no time like the present to set your business up for success.
That's right.
So for my last question, Tim, beyond your advice and what you need and where to start, Where is this going? How do you see this progressing over the next 8 to 12 months, given the current market dynamics?
Yeah, this is a great question. So over the next 12 months, based on everything that we see from managers and the initiatives we see actively happening, we see there being a significant wave of two major distinct ways that managers are building towards right now,
Mm,
which is that, number one, major managers and even the smallest managers are realizing they must differentiate through transparency. And they're building solutions to drive really to a new standard where they can proactively let investors know of the key risks in disclosures through transparency of communications that really prevent them from being reactive and being much more proactive in everything that's happening in their business.
mhm,
And so what stress tests they're doing and what risks are associated with, like the portfolios, the assets, the funds that they have, are critically important to be transparent now. In
mhm,
addition to that, and I would say probably equally as important, is that we also find managers are becoming way more proactive in how they're scenario planning and stress testing what they have as a across their portfolios, across their assets and their funds. So
mm,
we expect managers to really aggressively connect with their investor clients on a regular basis to say, these are the scenarios that we are running today, and providing here's what our downside risks are through this phase, and being able to make sure that they're doing that versus reacting to every investor inquiry. And so we think that, during these uncertain times, these leading managers will do these two things to really be able to provide daily, weekly evaluation scenarios, investment model updates, and equally running against any of these, efforts that they otherwise, would have been doing manually.
mhm. Interesting. I really like your point of view here, Tim, and I'd love to hear from anyone tuning in. What do you think? How will data technology change the way private market investors conduct business in the future? If you're interested in furthering this conversation, feel free to reach out to Tim directly, or you can find additional insight on our website at www.gomercatus.com. Tim, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, of course, Kaylee. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, everyone.